Hey everybody, and good morning once again. Today is August 11th, 2020, and in today's video, we're going to talk about an incident that occurred last night at the White House during a briefing from President Donald Trump. Apparently there was a shooting outside, one that Trump returned to the podium to tell us about. Well, in this video, we'll talk about how this shooting played out by the numbers. Of course, our federal government, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, headquartered out of Washington, D.C., all working in lockstep to execute mind control or government over the American population. So we'll look at a number of things in relation to this story. Of course, the Eclipse code, which we talk about in almost every single one of my videos, how this event relates to the two great American total solar eclipses. We'll also look at how this relates to the numerology of the Secret Service, established back in the year 1865. Here's the page on the Premier Grand Lodge of England, the father corporation of Freemasonry. We'll also glance at the numerology of a bombing in Maryland, or I should say an explosion in Maryland, allegedly. And then, of course, how this relates to the 1992 film The Bodyguard, where a Secret Service agent takes a bullet for a musician. And, of course, this is related to the death of Whitney Houston as well. And think about the name Whitney Houston, very close to White House, where this story occurred. So let's get into this. We start with the fact that this all began at 5:51 p.m. This is very important, and I invite you to check out the video of Trump's press conference, and you'll see that just as the clock turns to 5:51 is when the commotion begins. And that's because, as usual, these are numeric rituals. This was not an organic, real-life event. If we measure from the first Great American Total Solar Eclipse on August 21st of 2017 to the date of this event at the White House, we get exactly 1,085 days. In the standard alphabetic order, Trump's full name, Donald John Trump, sums to 185, again in the standard alphabetic order. This is the same day that we had a gas explosion in Baltimore, Maryland. Notice how Baltimore, Maryland also has this reverse gematria of 185, an explosion 1,085 days after the eclipse. This is also an exact number of weeks. Notice how it's been 155 weeks after the Great American Total Solar Eclipse. Well, this stands out for another reason, because if we measure from the Secret Service's birthday, formed back on July 5th of 1865, I guess in response to the Lincoln assassination, notice how the Secret Service is currently 155 years old. Furthermore, they're 5 weeks and 1 day after their date of formation. Using the alphabetic order, Secret Service equals 151. A 151 is the 36th prime number, and of course the Secret Service also 63 days or 36 days after its anniversary. But the 5 weeks and 1 day is significant here as well, because the man who was allegedly shot outside the White House was a 51-year-old male. Remember the word conspiracy summing to 51 in reduction. The date was the 10th of August, which equals 51 in reduction. And I also want to point out how this fell 51 days after June 20th. And in my post, I linked to my post about June 20th. For those of you newer to this channel, in early June I called that June 20th would be a very significant date for Donald Trump. And then they later went ahead and scheduled his first campaign rally for this date. and it was all aligned with JFK, Martin Luther King, and then it just so happened that JFK's last surviving sibling died right before the rally, the same day as Vera Lynn, a singer who was born in the same year as JFK. These news outlets code their headlines with appropriate gematria. So in reverse, we get 1151, reminding us of Secret Service 151. And notice how in English Extended we get this 8902. This stuck out to me because the Secret Service is 8,092 weeks old. So it looks like they coded their numerology twice in there. United States Secret Service in Gematria sharing numerology with 1331, the ultimate eclipse number, one I talk about quite frequently. But back to the Great American Eclipse. As we mentioned, it was 1,085 days before this incident. Donald John Trump 185 in ordinal. Not only that, but this was also 185 weeks after Donald Trump was inaugurated back in 2017. Donald Trump had primary birth numerology of 85. And 85, the inverse of 58, which is a very significant number to Trump. Donald Trump won the 58th U.S. presidential election, which fell 58 years after the year 58. He was inaugurated on a date with 58 numerology, announced his candidacy from a 58-story Trump Tower, hired a 58-year-old to do the ceremony for his inauguration. The name Donald John Trump even equals 580 using prime numbers. And check out the numerology of yesterday's date, 8 plus 10 plus 20 plus 20, summing to 58. Additionally, this incident occurred a span of 58 days after Trump's June 14th birthday. And again, this was the same day as a gas explosion in Baltimore. And notice how Baltimore also gives us 58 in the reverse reduction method. In the description below this video, I talk about the numerology of this incident in Baltimore and how the numerology is directly related to a Czech Republic apartment fire. On August 8th, it said that 11 people died in an apartment fire in the Czech Republic. And that event was related to the president of the Czech Republic, much like how the president of the United States was targeted in this news story. And this story on the Czech Republic, pretty interesting. They said 10 injured, 11 dead. The Czech Republic equals 1011 in Gematria. It was 10 months, 11 days after the president's birthday. Also 45 weeks. 45 the Gematria of Czech and the president in both reduction methods. Notice how the president of Czech Republic has the same Gematria as apartment, where the fire occurred. But next, and perhaps the most absurd element of yesterday's news story from the White House, is its relation to the film The Bodyguard, again, where a Secret Service agent heroically saves a celebrity. And we're talking about all these 58s in regards to yesterday's numerology, 58 days after Trump's birthday. Check out the reduction value of The Bodyguard. It also sums to 58 in reduction. Kevin Costner is the man who played the bodyguard. Measuring from his birthday back to the date of this Secret Service incident is 5 months and 8 days. In English Gematria, the name Costner equals 508. Costner's co-star in The Bodyguard, one of the highest grossing films of all time, was Whitney Houston. And again, as I mentioned at the top of this video, the name Whitney Houston very similar to the phrase White House. Now, if we measure from the date that The Bodyguard was released, November 25th of 1992, notice how we get exactly 10,120 days from the film's release to this story where the Secret Service heroically saves Trump. Well, using trigonal gematria, which is the alphabetic order, with associated triangular numbers used instead, notice how the name Whitney sums to 1012. Furthermore, the name Houston equals 112 in the standard alphabetic order. The word drowning also summing to 112 in reverse. Notice how if you measure from her death on February 11th of 2012, we get this interesting 314, maybe a little pi tribute. But more interesting to me is that this is 8 years and 6 months. 86, slang for offing or getting rid of. Human sacrifice summing to 86, just like the phrase blood sacrifice. So we mentioned The Bodyguard summing to 58, but next we're going to pick on one of the secret societies running our federal government responsible for these ridiculous rituals, Freemasonry, particularly the ancient accepted Scottish Rite, which traces back its lineage to the premier Grand Lodge of England. Now, if we measure from the date that the Secret Service was established to the date that The Bodyguard was released, you'll see a riddle unfold immediately. Notice how the Secret Service was 127 years and 143 days old when The Bodyguard came out. In reduction gematria, Scottish Rite of Freemasonry sums to 127 and 143. This film, The Bodyguard, a Masonic tribute to future events as we're now seeing. Notice how this film was released on the 330th day of a leap year. 33, a significant number to Masonry, as we'll look at shortly. Also notice the 147 and 57 in the date numerology. The word Freemason equals 147. The phrase Scottish Rite equals 57. What I noticed about yesterday's incident is that the White House construction began 227 years and 303 days before the incident. Ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry gives us this 227 in the reverse alphabetic order. And as far as the 303, well, everyone knows that 33 is a significant number to Masonry. It's allegedly the highest degree of the Scottish Rite. The word Masonry equals 33, so does the word police. Secrecy, 33. The word order, also 33. Modern Freemasonry, based on their June 24th, 1717 establishment date, is currently 303 years old. And not only that, but yesterday, for the incident at the White House, was 47 days after Freemasonry's anniversary. 47 is a pretty significant number to Freemasonry. Notice how on the square and compass logo, the compass is set to 47 degrees. Of course, the compass used to draw the circle summing to 47. The word president equals 47. The name Trump has double gematria of 47. Trump made the news The USSS, which is the abbreviation for United States Secret Service, also sums to 470. This incident occurred at the White House, which equals 47. The White House, home to the federal government, 47. They assume authority over the public, and we're expected to obey their minions, including the judge. All of this is 47, of course. And when you flip 47 around, you get 74. Well, Trump is currently 74 years old. Notice how the word Masonic equals 74. So does the word occult. And we're talking about how simple English Gematria is being used to code these rituals. Simple English and Gematria, all 74. In regards to the word Masonic, notice how this also sums to 223. Yesterday's incident occurring on the 223rd day of a leap year. 223 is also a prime number. The 48th prime number, this connects us to Donald Trump. 48, who is, of course, one of many Freemasons in the government, Freemason 48. On the date of this incident, notice how many days old Donald Trump was. 27,087. This stands out for the 787 because Freemasonry equals 787. And just before I went live on this video, I remembered this 2011 White House shooting. You may recall this incident where a man fired a gun at the White House, and this was on a pretty interesting date, 11/11/11, November 11th, 2011, a White House shooting. You know, people trying to tell me that these people don't care about numbers, that this is all a coincidence. Nah, not even close. Well, what stands out about that date is that it was exactly 105 months before yesterday's incident. And 105 is the ordinal gematria of Masonry. A 105, a number that was significant to the mayor of Baltimore. Remember, there was an explosion in Baltimore yesterday, blowing up a couple of homes, killing one, injuring several others. The state of Maryland was admitted to the Union on April 28th of 1788, meaning that Maryland was 105 days after its date of admission. Furthermore, if you plug in the year that Maryland was admitted, notice how the state was exactly 84,840 days old. Well, check out the gematria of Masonry in reverse. 84. And of course, it's not terribly uncommon for houses to blow up. I mean, we see this happen from time to time. It usually doesn't make national headline mainstream media, but that's what it did yesterday. In my post, I talked about how this was also related to the eclipse, but more significantly, related to this Czech Republic apartment fire from August 8th. First of all, think about the date of this apartment fire, 8/8. It was followed up by an explosion in Maryland, which sums to 88. And then the same day as that explosion, Trump was attacked at the White House. Trump equals 88. The president of the Czech Republic, his name is Milos Zeman or Zeman. His name sums to 108 and 135, just like the word apartment. And think of the date of the attack on Trump and the explosion in Maryland. The 10th of August, or 10/8. The Czech Republic fire exactly 45 weeks after the birthday of the president Milos Zeman. His name sums to 45 in both reduction methods, just like Czech. Meanwhile, the mayor of Baltimore was 45 days after his birthday when the explosion rocked that neighborhood. We also talked about the significant 58 riddle yesterday with 58 numerology, 58 years after 58 days after Trump's birthday, Trump winning the 58th election. Well, the 58th prime number is 271. And the president of the Czech Republic, his birthday falls 271 days before the mayor of Baltimore's. Zeman had been in office for exactly 2,710 days during the apartment fire. And during the Baltimore explosion, he was 27,710 days old. All nods to 271. So I invite everybody to check these posts out. Again, all of them are linked down below in the description underneath this video. And this is what happens. Anytime you get these big explosions, there's always a numeric riddle behind it. And we saw this last week with Beirut. And something that's pretty interesting about Beirut is that it sums to 75 in the alphabetic order. And this year was 75 years after the atomic bombings in Japan. Atomic bombing equals 75. And then yesterday we had an explosion in Baltimore, Maryland, which equals 75 in reduction. So it's all numeric riddle. Truth is certainly much stranger than fiction, especially when you talk about how news events from 2020 are related to movies that came out almost 30 years ago. And you know what I'm just thinking about is how this 2011 shooting was very close to the death of Whitney Houston. Again, Whitney Houston, White House, the parallels are pretty clear. So measuring from the White House shooting to the death of Whitney Houston was 92 days. The Bodyguard released in the year 92. Interesting stuff there, truth seekers. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. Thanks to everybody for jumping in. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.